As we continue to explore the mysterious and wonderful world of the parables of Jesus, we turn from the Gospel of Luke, where so many of the greatest parables are found, like the Good Samaritan and the prodigal son that we have already explored, to the Gospel of Matthew, where we find a parable that's found only in Matthew. In chapter 20, verses 1 to 16, it's the parable of the labourers in the vineyard. And frankly, I'm amazed that it doesn't find a place in either Mark or Luke. I'm not sure why, but it's a classic parable of Jesus in that sense of a narrative metaphor of the kingdom of God, keeping in mind what I said in the introductory podcast, that these parables are intended to be metaphors in story that subvert conventional perceptions of the kingdom of God in order to bring to birth new and brilliant perceptions and experiences of the kingdom of God. Well, this parable does that par excellence. Like other parables of Jesus, it starts in a very ordinary, identifiably human world. At some point, the ordinary gives birth to the extraordinary in the kingdom moment, and it never really finishes. It's open-ended. In other words, it looks to the decision of the reader and hearer. That's true of all the parables of Jesus, and it is classically true of the labourers in the vineyard. The world it begins in is the world of day labour, and it's a world that you still see in the Middle East. So it could hardly be more ordinary. The vintage, which was a time of intense work, people were needed as labourers through the day, and that's the world that we're introduced to. However, it turns exceedingly strange at the point where the landowner decides to give those who have worked only 1 hour as much money as he gave those who have worked all through the heat of the day. Now, this is clearly not the logic of the labour market, but it is the logic of the kingdom of God. And by any ordinary human reckoning, it seems weird. And those who have worked right through the day pick up the weirdness because they say, well, that's not fair, we should get more. So we're called into, as we are always in the parables of Jesus, another kind of logic, the logic of the kingdom of God. And then at the end of this parable, we're left as the readers or hearers with a decision. Do we take on the logic of the labour market, of the ordinary everyday world that we know? Or are we prepared to take the risk, and there is a risk in this, of entering the logic of the kingdom of God, where there is a generosity and extravagance of God that turns the world on its head? The last words of this parable are, the first will be last and the last will be first. And that really is the effect of the logic of the parables, and of this parable in particular. It turns the world on its head so that those who are last are first, and those who are first end up last.